Have you ever wondered how a lemon lime soda like Sprite and 7-Up is made? Because it's simply not taking lemon juice and lime juice, combining them, carbonating them, and voila, you have lemon lime soda. That's more of a limeade or a lemonade combination. What you really need is essential oils, and I'm going to show you how to make it today. It's quite simple, but you do have one big advantage over the major manufacturers. I'm going to tell you about that shortly. I'm Darcy O'Neill, this is Art of Drink. Lemon lime sodas go back a fair ways in history. They're not as old as colas. The earliest recipe I found for them is in 1910 for a recipe called Lemo Limo. And you'll see this has got lemon lime combination with the addition of vanilla. Which doesn't surprise me. Vanilla was a very popular flavor at the soda fountain at the turn of the century. Now, the advantage I was telling you about is that bottlers or canners, like the major international brands, are forced to keep their pH above 3. And that's because of a compound called Citral. Now, Citral is basically the flavor of lemons and limes. They're one of the key flavors. It's not the only flavor, but it's an important flavor, and that's what we're going to extract from the oils. Now, the problem is in a low pH environment, so let's say below 3, Citral will turn into a compound called paracresol. Now, paracresol smells like dung, barnyard, or pig, depending on who you ask. There's lots of research papers and patents on creating formulations where they can lower the pH without affecting the flavor. And I'm going to read one to you, and this is from a Pepsi patent in 2004. And it's why they're filing this patent. Hence, there exists a dilemma in the formulation of lemon lime flavored beverages. There are competing interests to raise the pH significantly to improve the stability of lemon lime flavor, or 2, to maintain or increase the tartness perception commonly associated with lemon lime flavor. In short, there is a need for good tasting, storage stable lemon lime flavored beverages. That's straight from Pepsi Cola's mouth to your ears, and that was filed in 2004. And the patent talks about using different acids and buffering agents to stabilize the pH. Now, if we need to prove the point about pH, there's some 7-Up and there's some Sprite. I've decarbonated them, and we'll get my pH meter out, and I'm gonna set it up. Actually, we'll turn it on. And we'll try the 7-Up first. And what we're looking at is a pH of about 3.25, and that's in line with what the papers are talking about, or the patents. And we will just give this a wash with some distilled water so we don't contaminate. And this is the Sprite. Give it a mix, and we are looking at 3.13. So above 3, they're edging down to 3.1, but still well above 3. Now, the thing you need to know, the difference between a pH of 3 and a pH of 2 is 10 times the acidity, because the pH scale is logarithmic. Lemon juice and lime juice, when they're freshly squeezed, are around a pH of 2. They're really tart because they don't have any sweetness, but that pH will help you actually make a better drink. So daiquiris, margaritas, there's a reason they're popular. It's that acidic bite that they have. And Sprite, again, I'm not necessarily a fan of it these days. It's a little sweet, it doesn't have anything interesting. Kids love it, but it's the sugar. And as Pepsi says in their own patent, there is an advantage to a lower pH in these. And that's where you can do it differently, because you do not have to worry about storage stability. If you're putting these in a can and you want to keep those off flavors from forming, you got to adjust your pH to 3.1 to 3.2. You don't have to, because you can just make a syrup and add the acid afterwards, or if you're a bar and you go through it pretty quickly, if you go through it within a month, you're not necessarily going to have to worry about Citral changing to those off flavors. If you're interested in making a better lemon lime soda, then this video is for you. So let's talk about how we make it. So the first step is to pick our solvent. Now, I'm going to do it like I was doing it at home and didn't have access to a lot of things. So 40% alcohol is basically vodka. So that's what we're going to start with. Now, you're going to need about 400 mils of it. And then you're going to need either glycerin, which is pretty common, or propylene glycol. Now, propylene glycol, do not confuse with ethylene glycol, two different substances. This one's quite safe to use. If you go through the generally recognized as safe documentation, this is allowed in a higher concentration than glycerin. However, they are both satisfactory. The usage rate we're going to use them at is probably 1/10 or maybe 1/5 of what generally recognized safe upper levels are. I prefer propylene glycol. When your body metabolizes this, it just turns back into glucose and or lactate. And lactate's just the salt of lactic acid. Your body handles it perfectly fine. But what we're going to do is we're going to increase the strength of your alcohol using this, or glycerin. And the way we do this is 60% water, which is a little bit low. But if we add basically 80 mils or thereabouts of this, we're going to get this closer to 50%, 55% alcohol and propylene glycol, and then 40 to 45% water. And the idea is we just want to get this more organic solvent than water. And so really simple to do. Just measure out 50 to 80 into the bottle, and then we're just going to give that a shake. That's just going to help your extraction process. And there you have your improved solvent. So that's step 1. Now step 2, we're going to do an extraction. So now we have our improved extract medium. We're going to extract it. And again, I'm doing this just as you do it at home if you had a bottle. Obviously you see this over here, and that's an extract I've already started so I can make this video quicker. If you don't have one of these, I'll kind of give you an idea how to do it with a bottle. This is basically going to be our extract. Now, I just add a little bit of solvent into the bottle. We'll eventually be filling up the whole bottle, but I just want to get a little bit of the oils in there. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put 3 milliliters of Citral into that. That's 2.5. I just need another half. Again, just a disposable pipette. Cheap and easy, and that's Citral in there. So 3 milliliters of Citral. Citral's more soluble in water than other terpenes, so that's why they actually call for it. If you don't have that, you can buy it at any of the places where you buy essential oil. If you don't have a good source of essential oils, just check out my Patreon page. I have a list there of all the ones that I source from. The next step is some key lime oil. We're going to add 20 mils of this. And then you just pour the oil in, and then whatever you don't use, you can just pour back into the bottle. So we need 20 mils. So I use key lime oil. The regular lime oil works fine. Key lime is just very aromatic. So comparing the two, lime oil is good, but key lime, and again, you can do any combination of this. I'm just giving you a starting point. You can go heavy on the lemon oil if you want, but we're going to use 5-fold lemon oil. It still has a lot of terpenes in it. In fact, it is mostly terpenes that aren't going to dissolve in the solution, but it has a higher concentration of the components we want to extract. That's the benefit of using this. And whenever you're dipping from bottle to bottle, it's a good idea to rinse out your syringe. I just use a little bit of ethanol. And then we're going to go for 6 mils. So those are the 3 oils you need. You don't need much else. You can add vanilla if you want to follow the original formula. But this is basically more Sprite and 7-Up soda, lemon lime soda. So you can skip the vanilla at this point. You can always add it later. You just want to leave a little room at the top of the bottle. And then if you don't have a stir plate, so these can be had for about $50, really handy. You use them for anything in the kitchen. You're gonna need to shake this regularly, like this. Give it a shake for 30 seconds, go do something else, you know, come back in 10 minutes, give it a shake, and you're gonna need to do that for a couple hours. The better option is, again, stir plate, stir bar, and then let it spin. Just put a lid on. And then you let that spin for 2 hours. That's our essence. And this is enough essence to make over 1,000 glasses of soda. You'll find that you might want to do a half size, and 250 mils is fine. Just divide everything in half, or all the ingredients that I gave you in half. So while this is spinning, we're gonna need to make some citric acid solution. And that's to give this drink some acidity. So let me show you how to do that. So this is really simple. We're just going to do a 1-to-1 mixture of citric acid, which is powder, into an equal portion of water. So if you've ever made 1-to-1 simple syrup, this is just basically the same thing. Now you just want to get 100. I'm going to do 100. This will make about 150 mils of solution. So that's roughly 100. You don't have to be super accurate on this, unless you want to be, for consistency. But what we're going to do is we're just going to add an equal amount of water. Now the benefit of this step is that it also cleans out your glassware. Basically add it. You can use tap water. I just use distilled water. And then you're going to stir. It's beneficial if you use warmer water. You can stick this in the microwave to heat it up if you want, if you're in a rush. It will help dissolve it. And once you get it dissolved, it will look something like this. It's fairly thick solution. If you want to taste something intensely acidic, dip your finger in there and give it a try. Next step is to separate the oil from the essence. Now for this step, we're just separating out the oil. If you do the essence method where you shake it with magnesium carbonate, you'll probably get more oil in it, but you're going to need to use a filter. You can use a coffee filter, but if you watch the essence video, you're gonna find that it doesn't do a good job. These vacuum filters are cheap. Watch the essence video and it'll speed up a lot of things if you ever do any of this stuff. If you don't have one of these, but you did buy one of these because of the extract video I did on how to make an extract, this will work as well. You don't need to buy this. Just put a cover plate over this on the top while this stuff separates out. You'll find that you can do the exact same thing with a percolator or a separatory funnel, open mouth one, as this. So you don't need to actually buy this if you already have this. This will work fine. Just make sure your size. This is a 250 mil one. This is a 500. And if you're going, the 500 mil one, percolator is probably your best size to get. They do have 1 liter ones, but they're a bit big for everything. So either 250 or 500, but I'd recommend 500. Now all we have to do is separate this. And yes, this is a little bit cloudy. I could allow it to stand for another 12 hours to get a better separation. And you can even chill this down in the fridge if you have room. A cold environment will help separate out the oil even quicker and hopefully keep all of your flavor compounds in there. But you'd be surprised that this mixture, the higher proof alcohol with the propylene glycol, makes for a better extract. And that's just simple chemistry. So just basically let this run out and stop it before the oil gets to the bottom. And there is your essence. Again, if you want to clean it up, put some magnesium carbonate in here, shake this for as vigorously as you can for 15 minutes. You can do it in sections, obviously. And then filter it with a filter paper and through magnesium carbonate. Now, as mentioned before, if you were to just leave the oil in the bottle and let it separate that way, when you turn the bottle on its side, you're going to get an oil layer here, and it's just going to come out. So in the old days, they would have taken a tube, put it down at the bottom of the bottle, and siphoned out the thing, and then as the oil gets to the bottom, you just stop. Now, obviously, you can use your mouth to form a suction, or you can buy one of these, it's called a suction bulb, and you can actually use it to pull this out. So you put that in, create suction, it'll come over, watch it carefully, and then leave the oil on the bottom, transfer it to another vessel, and you will be good. So the next step is to make our syrup out of our essence. So now that you have your essence, you're going to need some simple syrup and your citric acid solution. This is obviously to make the lemon soda syrup. So again, you're going to need your lemon soda essence. And again, if this isn't all familiar, go check out the essence video. It gives you the quick introduction to how all of this works, because I can't go through everything every time I do a video. The recipe, the Lemon Limo recipe, calls for 3 ounces of essence per gallon. That's roughly going to work out to 23 mils per liter, 22. So we're going to start off with 20 mils. I'm just going to use this OXO Good Grips thing. And again, you don't necessarily need special equipment for this. Equipment does make things easier. So we just put that straight into there. Put the lid on and shake. Now in industry, they would use a high pressure emulsification for this. Basically, it's not something that's available, but if you really wanted to make this emulsified, what you do is you pour this out into a big container, get a stick blender on the highest speed, and blend it for 2 to 3 minutes, and that will emulsify the oils better. It might get rid of some of the cloudiness, if that's a concern. You can add the acid to this, but that's going to shorten the lifespan of your syrup. If you're a bar and you're going through this a lot, not a big deal. But if you're at home and you like a really acidic flavor, it's best to go through this quickly. So if you're going through it in a month, that would be fine. But long-term storage is compromised by high acidity. So you can actually leave the acid out. This will last a while, but citric acid, there are bacteria that will consume citric acid. So this will last for a while, but it's not going to last forever. So make it up in small batches, and let me show you how much to make in the final drink. To make your soda is really simple. You're going to need some soda water, your syrup, and your acid. Now you only need 1 ml of this citric acid solution. And again, disposable pipettes are very handy for that. Basically add that in. And again, we're going to serve this solid. So put roughly 7 ounces in there, leave a little room, and then we're going to take our syrup, measure out 1 ounce, pour it in, and as I've mentioned many times before, serving solid preserves the carbonation in your drink. It doesn't foam over, and as long as your water's chilled, even if your glasses are chilled, it's helpful. This will stay cold for 10 minutes and the carbonation will be much better than without it. So now for the taste test. It is definitely lemon and lime, and you can definitely get the acidity even with 1 ml of this citric acid solution. It's definitely more tart than the Sprite. One thing we can do is we can check the pH on this. Now this is slightly carbonated. So with 1 ml of citric acid, we're coming in at 2.8-ish, but it's coming at 2.8 and dropping slowly, 2.79. So that's basically telling us that we're in a better range. Coca-Cola's more at this pH. And so it's definitely got a brighter flavor than 7-Up and Sprite. And so if you're going to do this in the future, this works out really well. And if you're going to make cocktails or non-alcoholic drinks with this, this is a good starting point. Again, you can adjust the flavors, add whatever essential oils. I'm going to do a video on acids, and we can substitute different acids. So we don't have to use citric, we can use tartaric or malic or phosphoric, and that will change the flavor profile, and we'll see how that works out. But at pH of 2.8, you're 0.4 on the pH scale lower than the commercial brands, and it already tastes different. It's something for you to play around with. Give it a shot. Let me know how it goes if you do. Thanks for watching, and if you have questions, please check out the Patreon, and I will see you next time.